Welcome to the Kosher Kitchen Lesson 4. We're going to start now a 3-part series about Tevilas Keilim. What's Tevilas Keilim? The Torah tells us that when a Jew acquires from a non-Jew clay su'uda, meal-type utensils. What is the definition of clay su'uda? Anything that's used, a utensil that's used in the preparation of, in the serving of, or in the eating of a meal of food, requires to be dipped in the mikvah, in the ritualarium, before it is used. This is learned from it's derived from the text in Bamidbar in Numbers, chapter Lamed Aleph 31, verses 21 and 22. After the Jews fought against the Midianites, they conquered them, they took the spoils of war, and they included in the spoils were things that were used by meals. Moshe said, these things aren't kosher, you have to kosher them, you have to make them kosher, put them in fire or in boiling water, whatever it might be to make them kosher, and after that, put them in a mikvah, then you'll be able to use them. So we are going to have a lesson, a 3-part lesson, where we're going to go through the kitchen, see what in the kitchen has to be immersed in the mikvah before you use it, what doesn't. The prerequisite for running a kosher kitchen is being conscious of the fact you're buying something to use in the kitchen. Does it need to be toveled? Does it have to go into the mikvah before I use it or not? That is what we are going to try to give you an awareness of these 3 lessons. In the first lesson, we're going to make a lemon Pareve ice cream, nice, zesty, light ending of a media fleishik meal, a non-dairy ice cream. Very, very simple to make. It only has 3 base ingredients, and with these 3 base ingredients, you could really make any flavor ice cream. The rest of it is just the flavoring. If you want to make a chocolate ice cream, add cocoa with a little bit more sugar, coffee, dissolve some coffee in a little bit of water and add that to it. Cinnamon, add cinnamon, whatever it might be, strawberry flavored ice cream. Take frozen strawberries, of course, with a hashkafa, with a kosher seal on them. And while they've thawed out a little bit, you could beat them into the mixture, and then and freeze it. You have a frozen strawberry ice cream. We're going to make lemon ice cream. The 3 base ingredients we're going to have is egg whites, and we're going to have non-dairy whip, of course with a kosher certification, and sugar. And as we go through the making of it, we're going to discuss whether or not each of these things had to go into the mikvah or did not have to go to the mikvah. So before I separate the eggs, we're going to use egg whites. So the Torah says that you have to be told clay suda, that the Torah says specifically aches hazahav, zakesef, es hanechoshes, sebarzel, ves habedil, ves oforis. Torah mentions 7 materials that need to be put in the mikvah before they use: gold, silver, copper, iron, tin, and lead. All of these are metals. According to the Torah law, you have to immerse in the mikvah clay suda, meal-type vessels that are made out of metal. The rabbis added to this even glass. So metals or glass, you have to put in the mikvah, and when you put it in the mikvah, before you put it in the mikvah, you recite a blessing. Asher Baruch Atah Hashem, and we will discuss that when we actually are going to go to a mikvah in lesson 3 and show the actual hands-on tevilat process, the blessing that's recited. Though we're going to recite the blessing when we're tovel metal or glass. Included in glass is Corel, Pyrex, Duralex. But anything else other than that, whether it's wood, whether it's stone, rubber, or plastics, do not have to be toveled in a mikvah. We're going to discuss these things as we go along. So we're going to first start. We're going to separate the eggs in order to get the egg whites. Now, nothing to do with Tevilas Keilim. We know when you have a kosher kitchen, if you want to use an egg, when you crack open the egg, you have to look to see that there isn't a blood spot. Sometimes it's not too common, but sometimes you might see something that's stuck onto the yolk, a little red or brownish spot. If you see that blood spot, throw the whole thing away. We're going to crack the egg. Now, the egg whites, I'm going to put in here. Okay, the yolk is going to go, we have the yolk The yolks I'm going to use later in something else. This is a plastic container. This plastic container doesn't need tevilah. It's not metal, it's not glass. Plastic does not require tevilah. This is glass, so this had to go into the mikveh before it was used. Let's try again. We're going to do this 3 times. Okay, that's snake number 1. We're going to carefully take the egg yolk out. Make sure not to break it. Okay, save the day there. One more time. No egg, no blood spots on him. I'm looking to see. Okay. So once again, glass was teviled, plastic was not teviled. I'll put this away. This later is going to be used. So now, and the beater, very interesting. The beater is made out of a few different materials. This is the base that has the electrical components in it. This did not have to go into the mikveh for various reasons. One, it's made out of plastic. The main reason is it doesn't really touch the food. However, the whisks that are made out of metal, and that's what actually is used to whip the eggs, requires tevilah. Okay, so we have our little snow, the egg whites were beaten. We're going to add to that about 3/4 cup of sugar. And we have another interesting question over here. The sugar canister over here, this glass, did this have to go into the mikvah? Let's think, is this considered klei seuda? It isn't used in the preparation of the food. It isn't used in the serving of it, and not used at the table. But however, it does store the food that you're going to use. There's a question as to whether this is considered klei seuda. Cookie jar, does that have to have tevilah? Is it called klei seuda or not? Since we're not sure, it's recommended you should bring it to the mikveh tevilat, but don't say the blessing. You want to play it safe and put it in the mikveh. If you put it in the mikveh, definitely, if it required to be teviled, it was teviled. You don't want to say the bracha unless you're really sure, because maybe you're saying God's name in vain. So this, I was teviled. However, what about the metal cover? If metal requires tevilah, does not require tevilah because this doesn't come in contact with the sugar at all. Contrast this to a pot cover. You have to be teviled your pot. While the pot cover doesn't really come in contact with the food, when you cook something, the steam goes up and the pot cover contains it. So when you tevel a pot, you have to immerse the pot cover also. But the sugar canister, well, we tevel the sugar canister, we're not necessarily didn't have to be tevel the cover. So I'll take about 3/4 cup of sugar and incorporate that into the egg white. So then the next thing that we're going to do, after we have this all ready, we're going to take the whip and metal, we would tevel this. The measuring cup is plastic. We didn't have to be tevel the measuring cup. We're going to take the whip, and then we're going to do the same thing to the whip that we did to the egg whites. We're going to beat it, make that there's more volume to it. Okay, so we have the whip. Now, just want to have the flavoring. So we're going to mix the egg whites with the sugar with the whip, but first we have to add the flavoring to it. So we're making a lemon ice cream. So I zested some of this lemon yesterday. I have the lemon zest. We'll add the lemon zest to this. And now the zester was made out of plastic. It has metal. But since the part that comes in contact with the food, with the lemon, is the metal, so this definitely required tevilah. But add a little bit of lemon juice, also a tablespoon. Now, you should already know the answer to this by now. I have 2 measuring spoons. 1 tablespoon of lemon juice I'm going to add. This is plastic, this is metal. Obviously, I think you should know by now. This one had to go into the mikveh before it was used. This one does not. We have a kosher brand of lemon juice. Any lemon juice you want to make sure. You could just cut the lemon and use fresh lemon juice. So if you want to use prepared lemon juice, concentrate, make sure that it has a kosher symbol on it that says it's kosher. Add this to it. We'll mix this all again. So before we finish the dish, I just want to summarize a little bit and then we'll finish everything off. So we learned that anything that is used in the preparation of the food for the meal, the preparation, the serving, or the eating of the meal, if it's made out of a metal or it's made out of glass, including Corel, Pyrex, Duralex, requires tevilah in the mikveh. Other things, wood, you have a very wood mixing spoon, did not require tevilah. Wooden salad bowl doesn't require. Stoneware doesn't require tevilah. Rubber doesn't require tevilah. Plastic doesn't require tevilah. So we're going to mix with a plastic spatula the egg whites with the sugar we'll fold it into the whip. We'll make our dish together. We'll finish it off. The whole thing in. We'll mix the whole thing. If you want to give it a little bit more color, you can put in a little bit more zest so that you could actually see the flecks of lemon in it. So this is the finished, completed dish. Put it into the freezer for a couple of hours. Then have a nice, refreshing end to a meaty meal. In the coming 2 lessons, we hope to finish this series. The next lesson discuss other things in the kitchen. You know, your toaster oven. Does the toaster oven need to be immersed in the mikveh? What about the racks of the toaster oven? What about your oven? Does the oven have to go into the mikveh? Does the oven racks have to go into the mikveh? What's the baking dishes, disposable things? Do they have to go into the mikveh? Not. Please God, in the next lesson we'll discuss more things. And then in the lesson following that, we'll go on a field trip to a mikveh, actually show the way that you do the Tevilas Keilim. I think hopefully in lesson 3. Thank you very much for listening.